I think there's use of a Taiwan card by the Republican Party, and they put together this Taiwan Policy Act, a House version, which was meant to reinforce and put back in some of the items that were left out in the Senate version. And the reason they did that was to try to push the Biden administration more forcefully against the Chinese. And I think the real danger in that for the Taiwan world is nobody wants a war, and the Biden administration wants to avoid that at all costs. And the problem is some of the items that the Republicans might well tip the cross-strait issues into war. That's what the Biden administration is trying to avoid, and Republicans are pushing the Biden administration in this case. The Biden administration wants to, in its words, be competitive when they should be, cooperative when they can be, adversarial when they must be. It's the cooperative when they can be part the Republicans don't like, and that's where they're using Taiwan as a lever to hit the Biden administration over the head.
What items are you referring to in terms of tipping it towards war?
There are a number of ways in which the original draft tried to talk about strategic clarity, about the support for Taiwan. There were items which were about renaming the Techro office, seen by the Biden administration as solidifying, shall we say, or lifting up the U.S. relationship with Taiwan in such a way that the Chinese would think that there was a change in U.S. One China policy. And that's what the Chinese don't want to see, and have been very forceful and adamant that it not happen. And then there is a big push on so-called strategic clarity in the document by the Taiwan, in the Taiwan Policy Act by the House. Again, a very forceful support for Taiwan at all costs. This is a complicated question. The U.S. side has always been dual deterrence. No unprovoked use of force by the Chinese, no unilateral declaration of independence by Taiwan. Straddling those two has always been a difficult task, and the Biden administration is doing its best to try to keep that even balance. The House Republicans, at least, seem to want to push the envelope a little bit beyond where many people feel it should go.
How would you call the House and the Senate from what you can see at the moment?
It's a real toss-up. I don't think any pollster who's out there trying to do polling has any sense, any variables at this point. And I think at this point, it looks like the Senate will stay 50-50, which means the vice president will get to break a tie, and therefore Democrats would have a slim majority. But on the House, it certainly looks like it's leaning Republican, and it will probably stay that way.
And what implications do you think this would have for U.S. China-Taiwan relations?
The House Republicans have gotten a lot of movement behind their China task force, their attempt to build a very forceful anti-China platform, shall we say. They will try to push that through in legislation. Legislation in the states is a very complicated process, as you probably know. They have to come to conference, and then it has to be signed by the president. I don't think anything that the Republicans in the House do will ultimately get into law or get into specific foreign policy platform of the Biden administration, but there'll be a lot of pushing and shoving at this point, and all of it's in a way to set up for the 2024 presidential and legislative elections. That's where the fight will really wind up coming, is are you strong enough against the Chinese, who are a pacing threat at this point, or are you being too weak in your approach to them? That's the way I think the Republicans will try to cast the coming elections in 2024.